These days, it seems like if you had a franchise that had any varying amount of success at any point in time, it's gonna get a reboot. It's pretty much guaranteed you've had experience with one of these in your lifetime. I mean, yeah, maybe it doesn't have anyone behind the original movie or book or game, but I, for one, think we need another Robin Hood. I've got mixed feelings on the concept of reboots happening in video games. On one hand, it's always nice to introduce a generation of people to a franchise with lore as thick and obfuscated as Mortal Kombat, but also, did Bomberman Act Zero need to exist? All it did was become an example of what not to do. What was the point of 2015's Need for Speed, considering EA went back to the buzzwords right after, though they should bring back Underground.
And if you feel the need for speed, just play Underground.
I'll always prefer new IPs and fresh ideas to the same old, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy a good old-fashioned shiny rerun. The Tomb Raider and Shadow Warrior reboots are prime examples of the correct way to invigorate your franchise, but I don't want to talk about the good, the bad, or even the first. I want to show y'all the weird reboots. Unfortunately, that means no DMC, so if you were expecting that one, I don't know what to tell you.
You're not on the list.
So yo, it's Austin, and today I want to talk about the abandoned graveyard known as video game reboots. They could be ones that time just forgot, or ones that were so bad that you tried to forget them. Or in a lot of cases, games that kind of just like spilt onto like a digital store and nobody even noticed. There's a lot of those. But first, I want to talk about today's sponsor, GtArcade. So look, summer break's coming up, you're a hardcore gamer, and you could do like the same old thing you always do, or you could check out GtArcade. If you're into mobile and browser games, GtArcade is a pretty slick choice to go with. You've got games like Eve of Celestials, Legacy of Discord, League of Angels, and I was pretty impressed with Rangers of Oblivion and what they've managed to do on a phone. I mean, like, come on, if you want to slay a bunch of behemoths with friends on the go, here you go. GtArcade's got a bunch of cool games you can play, and if you want to check it out and get playing today, they've given me a gift code to give to you. It's a $10 GtArcade gift pack usable towards all their free-to-play games. Check out the description for a direct link to redeem it. Check them out, y'all, and thanks for watching. Hydro Thunder was dope. Developer and publisher Midway may be long gone by now, but their lineup of video game franchises from the 80s to the 2000s is nothing to gawk at. They dominated arcades with their Cruisin' and Gauntlet series of games. Everyone I knew had heard of or played Mortal Kombat, but there was nothing quite like their Thunder series of video games. High-octane, hyper-unrealistic, arcadey racing games like Off-Road Thunder and Four-Wheel Thunder. Arctic Thunder's spiel was like snowmobiles with missile launchers, and it was ridiculous and one of my favorites. The freaking arcade cabinet basically had an air conditioner built into it that would blow wind in your face. It was sick. But of course, we're talking about Hydro Thunder, massive powerboats racing through insane courses at the highest of speeds. They sure as hell don't make video games this stupid anymore, and that's a crime. So when Midway went defunct, Microsoft ended up obtaining the rights to Hydro Thunder, and in 2010 would team up with Vector Unit to make Hydro Thunder Hurricane. And it's okay. I like it. Ostensibly, Hydro Thunder Hurricane looks better. It runs really well, it has all of the original mechanics fine-tuned and running great, but it somehow lacks some of the charm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I say that even though you have levels with like fucking Zeus or whoever striking the ocean. Unfortunately, obtaining all these new levels will take a lot of time because of the slow unlock system. You end up playing the first 3 levels over and over for like way too long. I just think it's weird that a reboot of Hydro Thunder ended up getting struck by the brown curse of the late 2000s. If this came out nowadays when it's up against games like Onrush, Trailblazer, or Team Sonic Racing, I think we'd see a pretty crazy ass game. Hurricane sold decently for the time, reportedly over 300,000 for digital, which is great. But I can't help but feel that it went in one ear and out the other where it would be quickly forgotten about, just like Kingdom Hearts 3.
My guess is no one's ever loved you before.
Yo, while we're on a Midway kick, let's talk about another reboot that happened around the same time. Another stupid game I love. Let's talk about NFL Blitz. I really couldn't give a damn about watching sports. I totally understand why people love them, but I'm just not there with you. However, I'm super into playing very specific video games about them. Catch me outside with a Virtua Tennis 4, NBA Jam, or NFL Blitz any day. Blitz was neat because it was dumb. It took the now sterile sport of football and made it extremely stupid, with dudes throwing dudes and jumping on them after a play was called. So when Midway ripped out of existence, EA Sports bought up the license, and that was just about the worst thing that could possibly happen. Midway did make a bunch of these games, including 2 just called Blitz, that incorporated Mortal Kombat levels of violence, but there's nothing quite like the PlayStation 1 and arcade original. The 2012 reboot, simply called NFL Blitz, was okay. It seems like EA was struggling to really take things to that over-the-top level that Midway's iterations did. It's still an entertaining thing to play, especially with friends, but I think we'd all rather play the OG. I'll just play the one where you can do late hits. Why'd they take it out? That was the best! Bring back stupid games. So it's 2008, and Sega's like half a decade out of being a console manufacturer, and they're like, hey, I want to bring back some of our old franchises. We need to introduce them to the mainstream. They tried. Here's Golden Axe Beast Rider. Growing up as a Sega Genesis kiddo, I was pretty well versed in most of the unique franchises we got. Well, except Golden Axe. I don't know what it was really, but the drab colors and weird barbarian fantasy aesthetic never pulled me in. It's a solid old school beat 'em up. I mean, it's no Streets of Rage 2, but it was popular enough to get multiple sequels and like a Zelda clone. I guess I like how fast you can run in Golden Axe. That's pretty cool. The last Golden Axe game released was a spin-off for arcades in the Saturn called Golden Axe The Duel, but that was in 1995. Golden Axe 3 never even received a proper Western release outside of Sega's old TV game delivery service, Sega Channel. Probably because it sucked. It wouldn't be all the way until 2008 that we'd finally get a new proper Golden Axe Beast Rider. That's 13 years to figure out a concept to truly captivate new audiences, 13 years to try and engross the new 3D generation with Golden Axe. But it didn't do that, because it also sucks. Beast Rider was developed by the team at Secret Level Inc., who worked on Magic the Gathering Battleground, which was a pretty decent game. But they were mostly known for port work and assisting other studios. Sega decided to buy him up in 2006 and put him to work on Golden Axe and the Iron Man movie tie-ins. Oh no.
The Sisterhood will never forgive me if I am late.
This game is just the worst. It's like CVS brand God of War with the words Golden Axe taped onto the box. It's pure, unadulterated schlock, and I'm pretty sure even Sega knew that, considering they had booth babes like this at events when showing the game. Also, the Tyrus booty. There's a place for TNA video games in the market for sure, but I typically want them to play well too. Or, you know, actually have TNA. This game barely has it. But all Beast Rider does is give us a tedious 3D beat 'em up to fumble around with. Everything feels robotic. Dismembering dudes doesn't even have a tinge of satisfaction or impact. You just kind of run from point A to B while getting locked into forced enemy arenas every 2 minutes. It's very exciting. How they managed to make riding a giant fire-breathing dinosaur a boring-ass time, I have no idea. Oh, also I died, and the game locked me into a place where I couldn't progress anymore without restarting, so, sick. Let's talk about some old shit. This here's Yars Revenge. You, shoot the thing to win. You can't really tell from the game itself, but you flip open the manual and you'll get all this rad lore. Mostly that you're a Yar and you want revenge. This is one of the highest selling 2600 games of all time. Unfortunately, it was a legacy that wouldn't translate to the modern gaming scene. It didn't even have a proper sequel until the plug-and-play Atari Flashback 2. However, let's fast forward all the way to 2011. It's been like 30 years, it's time to bring Yar back. This bug here? Nah, fuck that. We're now this bug here. Make the Yar an anime waifu. Make her have faces. You know what's super popular? Rail shooters. Let's bring back Yars Revenge, a Western-made classic made by the dude who designed E.T. and turn it into anime. Well, kind of. You can barely tell in the game itself. The Yars Revenge reboot is aggressively mediocre, and also maybe a lie considering the Steam page states that it has RPG elements, of which I noticed none. The camera never changes from having your aiming reticle directly in front of you, which unfortunately makes the backgrounds look like Yars flying in a green screen or an FMV, as opposed to having her interact with the environment. Other rail shooters like Panzer Dragoon Orta do a much better job of this, landing Yars Revenge thoroughly in the okay box. Though I will say, elements of the story and environments are straight up near Automata, and now I'm just sitting here waiting for Yoko Taro Robo Bug Girls. Make it happen. It's probably happened already. Also, this has co-op, if you cared. Alright, enough with the mediocrity. I think it's time to talk about something great. However, I feel like I'm the only one that liked SSX. Yeah, remember this? I feel like EA forgot about it considering they haven't released a single SSX game since, but whatever. Unrealistic snowboarding games are a blast. I've got a soft spot for things like Snowboard Kids or Amped 3. Yo, Amped 3's fucking sick. But SSX Tricky and SSX 3 hit spots that are super nostalgic and fuzzy. I love being able to do ridiculous flips and grinds through colorful PS2-ass courses while listening to kick-ass music. It's good shit. Little glitchy sometimes. The reboot? It could be deceptive, but it's every bit as ridiculous as the originals. Rather than massive afros and lanky characters, we have possibly the most intuitive and freeform combo system in snowboarding games. You can practically combo down an entire mountain, and doing that feels so good. The reboot was originally gonna be called SSX Deadly Descents and sported this grimdark, super serious trailer that threw everyone off. It was likened to Call of Duty at the time due to how drastic of a change it was from the source material. However, they changed that and turned it into this goofy motion comic book type of dealio. Everyone had an over-the-top backstory and a motivation for joining Team SSX to conquer all 9 of the Deadly Descents. These are basically boss stages in each part of the world that have different mechanics you have to master. Gotta say, I'm a big fan of the wingsuit. Feels real good. At the time, I loved the multiplayer component of competing in global events to get more coins, to unlock boards and new outfits, of which there are a ton. Mostly color swaps, but whatever, it's fine. Also, you better like dubstep. You'll hear the Run DMC song, but it's gonna be a little dubby. I like the SSX reboot quite a bit, and I think it's misunderstood. It had issues when it launched, like no proper multiplayer, but these got patched in with time. EA attempted to try something different with their beloved franchise, but ultimately it was one that had the fans split. But at least it's backwards compatible on the Xbox One, so if you never got to try this one, you really should. What other game's gonna let you do tricks off a helicopter? Alright, it's time to take it down, like really down. Some joker thought it would be funny to send me a copy of Turok for the 360. Didn't even give me a name, so I can't yell at you. Thanks? Turok Dinosaur Hunter is rough. Well, on the Nintendo 64 anyways. The second you play one of the PC or newer console ports of Turok, you can fully appreciate the fast-paced, twitchy dino shooting. For anyone that doesn't know, Turok is based on an old Native American comic book character dating all the way back to 1954. Turok here gets stuck in the Lost Valley and, well, hunts fucking dinosaurs. Fast forward 54 years later and take a look at Joseph Turok, the generic space marine. Oh, gross. Last gen aged super good. I've played a ton of Turok Rage Wars when I was younger. The multiplayer felt better than GoldenEye at the time, at least to dumb preteen me. But the original Turoks had a semblance of charm to them. Everything moved and happened so quickly due to the nature of games in this time. The larger scale of the levels let things play out like a puzzle. First-person platforming was not for everybody. Yeah, sure, it was ugly, like real ugly, but it had that low poly charm. Plus, I gotta rep the devs at Iguana Entertainment, or Acclaim. They might be defunct now, but they were just down the street. Us techs and us nice guys stick together. Reboot has generic everything. Generic dialogue, generic color schemes, generic gameplay, just everything. I'm not sure how you take, for the second time in this video, a franchise where you fight fucking dinosaurs and turn it into a generic Space Marine thing, but the Disney-owned propaganda games did it. Yeah, that's probably why. The PlayStation 1 and 2 were notorious for seeing franchises try to adapt to the 3D environment. However, what happens when you're already a 3D franchise and you just want to try to adapt to, like, changing trends? this happens. I was never the biggest Spyro fan. I had played a decent amount of the original here and there, but never felt inclined to go all in. When the Reignited trilogy came out last year, I was excited to play them for the first time, but the motion blur made me feel sick despite never having that issue before, so that sucked. Thankfully, they patched that, but we're not talking about this Spyro. Despite there being a total of 14 Spyro the Dragon video games, not including the Skylander spin-offs, it seems like people only fondly remember the PlayStation 1 trilogy, and maybe the Game Boy ones. Everything else just kinda exists. However, it seems like everyone collectively tries to forget about the time they went edgy. But I'm here to remind you, so call up Elijah Woods, it's grimdark time.
I know what I need to do.
Just get out of here, Cinder.
The only word that comes to mind when I think about this game is why? Why did they take the fun and goofy dragon and turn it into this?
I know this is not the path you would choose for me, but I have to walk my own path and do what I know is right.
I mean, it's not hard to be interested in it when Elijah Wood's voice acting is advertised on the box, but the game itself is so far away from what Spyro the Dragon is. Hope you like cutscenes, bruh.
Spyro, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Ah yes, the fantasy realm of Kansas. So what's the legend of Spyro? Well, I mean, we could talk about horrible frame rates, but how about combat arenas? How about leveling up with experience points? What about speed? Wait, no, sorry, no speed. A New Beginning sits way closer to Dante's Inferno than it does Spyro the Dragon, considering it locks you into combat arenas constantly. If you try to leave them, the game like sends a giant lightning bolt down from the sky and auto kills you, so you're not allowed to have any fun. Like actually, Spyro's like, nah dog, you gotta fight these dudes who, by the way, continuously spawn for like 7 to 10 minutes at a time, dragging out each combat section for way too long. There's no fun. Minus the Star Fox sections, those are right. The first 3 Spyro games were 3D platformers with an emphasis on platforming, but this is just tedious. I understand why people would want to forget these exist, especially with the beautiful remakes, though those don't got Elijah.
Terrific.
Maybe I'll talk about the trilogy someday, but for now, I'm gonna go get me a meatball sub. I don't know why, sounds good. I got mixed feelings about Dragon's Lair. I'm very well aware that it's an arcade classic, and I've got a deep respect for Don Bluth and all of the animators involved. Anything Don Bluth animation related, be it The Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, or Titan AE, is a visual feast that'll stick in your mind. But considering that Dragon's Lair is like the grandparent of the QuickTime event, the QTE that wouldn't tell you the button to press that was also an arcade game, it was pretty much designed to just suck money out of kids back in the day. And hey, it worked. It got a sequel and a spin-off in the form of Space Ace, as well as a couple of adaptations for older consoles. The notoriously terrible NES platformer comes to mind, as well as the weird Super Nintendo one. But today, we're talking about Dragon's Lair 3D. I feel like the developers at Digital Leisure are really proud of themselves, considering Dragon's Lair is a majority of what they've released over the years. Hell, on the disc for 3D, they've got an interview with some of the staff about their thoughts, where some dude claims that Dragon's Lair 3D will be the first HD video game. Yeah, I don't know about that, considering a Bomberman game did it like 9 years earlier, but whatever, who needs facts? I would believe him if he told me Daphne was still hot. Low poly waifus ain't bad either. So Dragon's Lair 3D takes a lot of elements from the original arcade bastard of a game and turns it into a bullshit 3D platformer. You do have a health bar for the jank as hell combat, but a majority of your deaths are gonna be from endless pits and platforming. Thankfully you can roll forever, like actually. Visually, Dragon's Lair 3D looks fantastic. This is running on an original Xbox, and the HD support looks great, minus a few frame issues from time to time. Dragon's Lair was always super charming, and the 3D version of the game has a decent amount of that. Though it doesn't matter how cute your game is if your combat's like this. It follows the same formula as the original of being a trial and error platformer with a ton of instant kills and, well, it's Dragon's Lair. Except you don't get to see Daphne for like a couple hours, so fuck it. Next. I've mentioned this in passing like a couple times, but I think it's time to finally talk about Rocket Knight. If you've followed this channel for a while, you're probably very well aware that Rocket Knight Adventures is one of the greatest of all time. Konami Sparkster was a cute little opossum motherfucker who was good at messing dudes up, flying around, and moving at blast process and speeds. The Rocket Knight and Sparkster trilogy are gems that are a force to be reckoned with. Well, maybe not this one, but still. So when Sparkster was announced to be making a comeback for the PS3 and 360 digital stores back in 2010, I was so fucking ready. I mean, I have Sparky on my freaking wall. It was being developed by Climax Studios, who had recently put out the surprisingly good Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Now, like, I know that a psychological thriller has nothing in common with a furry mascot platformer, but it showed competence and passion, man. Sparkster was shown with a new and cute modern design. They could have gone all edgy with it, leaning into the Genesis and SNES sequels, but instead they went lighthearted and goofy, more akin to the original. I wanted it real bad. However, as time and a lack of notoriety would tell, they swung for the fence and came up short. Rocket Knight is competent. The controls are tight and solid. It's easy to tell what's happening on the screen. It didn't lean into a long-winded narrative and stuck close to the formula of just being a video game. Mechanically, it's fine. I think the problem is that in trying to hit that nostalgia bomb and replicate the magic of Rocket Knight, Climax Studios made a game that instead played it too safe. Sparky's a little small boy on the screen, but because of that, the speed is practically non-existent. Rocket Knight was all about forward momentum, boss fights back to back, and forward-moving chaos with tiny bits of platforming here and there. It's a shame that the reboot played it so safe, because when you play them back to back, the new one kinda sucks. Time has kinda forgotten this one. But you know what? I can still play Rocket Knight Adventures, so I guess that will have to do. Maybe one day someone can bring him back. Please. For my last pick, I want to talk about A Fall from Grace. The next franchise has actually been rebooted multiple times to varying degrees of success, but it wouldn't be a video talking about reboots unless we brought up Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden for the NES is pretty dope. The whole trilogy is. Same with the Master System version. Ninja Gaiden 1 in black, super dope. I used to have a console sticker of Ryu Hayabasa covering my original Xbox, and that shit was awesome. It's hard as nails and part of the original 3D action revival alongside Devil May Cry. Black only made it harder and better. Ninja Gaiden 2 for the 360 is like having chocolate already, and then someone's like, hey, you want some more chocolate? It's a goddamn classic that's now Xbox One X enhanced. Ninja Gaiden 3, and then there's one more. The last Ninja Gaiden game to come out. The time they handed it to the dudes whose entire catalog of video games has an average Metacritic of 53. The one produced by the guy who's responsible for Mighty Number 9. Yaiba, Ninja Gaiden Z. Oh god. I feel like everyone out there has a Ninja Gaiden friend. You know, the one who's always like, oh fuck yeah, Ninja Gaiden, and will sing its praises constantly, with maybe a pinch of Bayo from time to time. If you don't have that friend, it might be you. If you ask any of them about Yaiba, they'll just break. It's funny. Shouldn't do it, it's mean, but it's really funny. Anyways, Yaiba is basically the antithesis of everything Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 put forth. Following a similar pattern to other games in this video, it feels like they leaned on the concept of enemy arenas as opposed to like skill-based action combat. Ninja Gaiden was neat because you needed to learn the mechanics, enemy patterns, and study the use of the blade. But Yaiba has you mashing away. It's repetitive, every level's the same 3 colors, enemy types recycle constantly. We haven't even gone into Yaiba's attempt to make your character likable by using humor that's like actually just not funny. I'd be more lenient on that if it was charming, but it's just dumb. Oh yeah, how about the fact that the PC version of this game is a hot trash fire? If you're playing in a resolution over 1080p, Yaiba will straight up crash anytime you try to open the menu. It's even on the forums. You got people asking for fixes like 2 years ago. Yo, what's with this video and all the frozen helicopters? What the fuck? It's an epidemic! The reason Ninja Gaiden Z is so frustrating to many is because it's only shown us the fall from grace that Ninja Gaiden had. The series' renaissance was so short-lived and seemingly ruined by like giant dinosaurs and Shadow the Hedgehog. Look, Yaiba's not the worst, but it ain't great. However, there is Mighty Number 9 DLC. I got nothing else.
How about you telling me where I am?
There you have it, 10 reboots you probably forgot about. Let me know in the comments if there's one you thought I forgot about, because I know you're gonna do it anyway. That was kind of a downer to end the video on, so let me bring this up one more time. Bring back stupid games. Hey, thanks for watching. Special Patreon shout out to Alfredo Ariano, Chase Scott, Chris Shelton, Christopher Olivia, Irrational, Jay Roos, Jackets, Jacoby Fitzpatrick, Legend Gary, Nitron, Ronnie Vile, Shintaro, Steven Schneers, and Superfly1787. Thank you very much for the support. If you like the video, check out some more, and we'll have more stuff coming out soon.